I feel like everyone has heard the name Robin DiAngelo by now. She's
Way to put a fucking buzzkill on
I know.
on the whole thing.
I know. She's the author of White Fragility,
And the worst person.
super racist book that they push in woke spheres. And she said people of color need to get away from white people. She's a full-blown segregationist at this point.
Yeah.
And
so it's cool to be that way.
Well, yeah,
it's fashionable.
Well, I was telling you this beforehand. I think that she's just like a super racist person, like straight out of the 50s, and she has figured out a way to
mainstream?
push her ideas in a way that will be accepted and lifted up and celebrated. She's figured a way to frame it that way so that she can put them out there and like promulgate her ideas. Is that even a word? Is promulgate a word?
Promulgate? I don't think so. Promulgate?
Promulgate.
Promulgate?
It might be word, promulgate.
I don't know. Help us out, Art. Dictionary us, please.
Dictionary us, please. But she's trying to put these ideas out there, and it just seems like they're too perfectly aligned with like a super racist person from the 1950s. They're just too perfect. Like the blacks and the whites, they should drink out of different water fountains, and they should sit in different spots in the bus, and they should have different neighborhoods and go to different schools.
I don't know what made a racist sound okay, because they're now like they're racist against their own race. So now it's okay. Like, because you sound like you're...
It's just an inversion.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You sound like you're racist against white people. But really what you're saying is that white people are superior. So there's your dogma there. And then, so you're putting down black people by saying that we're superior somehow. And that black people need our help.
Yeah, they can't get anywhere on their own without us stepping in.
Yeah, if we don't step in and stop with our white fragility.
So we need to give certain jobs to black people specifically.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to be qualified for those jobs on their own. How else are they going to get into the workforce if we don't, if we don't set aside some positions for them?
We're so good. We're so great as white people. That we're so giving enough to say, hey, you know what? Listen, everyone else is completely useless, and we're going to help you as white people.
Promote or make widely known an idea or cause. These objectives have to be promulgated within the organization.
Promulgated.
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 Not promulgated.
Promulgated. Okay. All right. Sorry. Probably promulgated too many years.
I put the G earlier. I put proglamate or something.
Proglamate?
Like that.
So you want to proglamate things, and I want to...
I want to proglamate.
I want to promulgate here.
Yeah, so this stuff is just fucking nuts.
She also makes almost $1 million a year pushing this fucking bullshit. So
yeah.
Good on her, you grifter.
Yeah.
Well done. Well, way to jump in, you curly-haired fuck, to jump into the world of everything's racist and make your little mark on it. I wrote a book.
Yeah.
I wrote an awful fucking book that I wouldn't even bother picking up because enough people have read it and told me how garbage it is. Thank you, people that have read this book.
What, White Fragility?
White Fragility. I actually know it was actually being pushed in Halton, the school board.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So they were making
school boards.
Well, they were giving the teachers choices of what book to read. It was that one. There was a couple other ones that were garbage. I can't remember the.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I know somebody who read it and said it was pretty fucking bad. So, and actually, I think Ben Shapiro talks about how bad it was.
Yeah. It's made the rounds.
Yeah.
It's super racist.
It's the weirdest thing. It's like, you know what? I got to give her credit in one way as a grifter. She's good. She's good enough as a writer to suck in enough
dum-dums.
Yeah, that's an easy way to say it. Enough gullible people to read it and go,
Lemmings.
"Oh, this sounds like she put words together well."
Yeah.
Like the organization of her words are good. So I'm going to believe what she said.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I can put together a bunch of nonsense words and make them sound good.
Yeah.
That seems what she's done.
Yeah, that you're dead on. They're already sickening that teachers have that kind of latitude to corrupt minds. Like,
educators are supposed to fucking educate.
This is why I'm completely they would call this education,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Like,
but
we're
this is more
educating you on the
indoctrination.
right way to think. Well, yeah, but they just call it education.
Yeah.
Um, this is why that I am in support of, like, I think schools need to be privatized completely, and it needs to be like you get to choose where you go essentially, and that way you'll have a school. They'll create a system. They'll be
Mhm.
like, you know what? If you don't want all this bullshit, you can come here. And people
Yeah.
will be like, yeah, I don't want that bullshit. So it's to be huge demand for that school. So
Yeah.
other people will open up schools to match that because, like, well, there's a demand that needs to be met, and other schools will change to fit that. And like, it'll it'll sort itself out instead of it just being a thing where, like, no, you're forced to go to this institution, and because of corruption, these things that nobody wants are in this
Yeah.
institution.
No, I agree. I think the way we could do it is that we could say, okay, like, so our tax-paying money still goes to fund schools, but it doesn't fund the school itself. It funds the people so if you've got low-income
Well, you say
families,
there's
but
a say
hold
there's a
on, just to
dollar
make a
amount
point.
per child.
So you've got a low-income family that can't afford to necessarily put their kid in a school, like to choose type thing. You
Yeah.
give them the money in either tax breaks or like literally like a stipend, and you'd say, here, this goes only to school. So you can use that to pick the school that you want to go to or have your child go to. And that school isn't interfered with by the
Yeah,
government.
I think you can do a number of things. My way of, like, that I think would be good to privatize almost everything, but means test things. So, like, pick a number, whether it's 50 grand a year or 80 grand a year or 30 grand a year, whatever it winds up being. If you make below that threshold, then you you get your healthcare for free. You don't have to pay for it. If you make more than that, you're gonna have to pay for your healthcare. You're gonna have to pay for your education. You make less than that, okay, well then you don't have to pay for it. And then maybe there's like shifts where it's like, okay, well, you rack up $100,000 in medical bills, so you have a payment plan to do that, and then your income goes down. Maybe you can default on that from that point, right? Maybe you could do something like that. So you can have like this system where it is private, so you can have all the benefits of the private system, but you don't leave anybody behind. You don't leave
Right.
anybody without. I think we're rich enough as a society in the West to do that.
See, this is my take on it. I think the money's in the wrong hands. So, like,
Yeah.
the taxes go to the government, and the government disperses the taxes as they see fit. I think what it should be is everything should be privatized to the sake of, okay, so you have hospitals that are privatized, you have education facilities that are privatized, and the money goes back to the people to choose which one of those facilities go. So those facilities can fail. You can have hospitals fail, you can have schools fail.
Yeah, so like maybe you could have a school. So like there's a dollar amount per child, and so you have a school, and you get to choose what school your children go to, and so that the school pulls in so many children. There's so many dollars
And that's what I mean.
associated to that. The school gets those dollars, and then if those children move schools, the schools, if there's not enough children that want to go to those schools, then those schools
They fail.
will wonder because there's
They go
not
under,
enough
exactly.
money to pay the staff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's instead of being bolstered up by the government. So it's our college university is useless unless you want to trade or need a professional designation such as engineers, doctors, lawyers. Yeah.
Higher stuff like real like high education like physics and stuff I think is still in like high level mathematics.
Sure.
I think is good, although there's not much in the way of careers for that, but if you want to learn that, college and university is the place to go,
Yeah.
although that is changing.
Yeah. This other point I want to read because it kind of ties in. It says the problem with educational institutions is that they are businesses. The agenda they push is what earns the most funding funding for business instead of promoting practical programs, and the students lose.
And society loses when those students grow up and are completely useless, which we're seeing with my generation basically.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, so if you look at the bloat in government, they're just spending all this money. Actually, it was funny. I was having a little debate, not even a debate. I was just she was ranting. This woman, she works in healthcare, and she was ranting about how the admin in healthcare is bloated by, she says, by a factor of 3. She's like, you have 3 people doing the job of 1, which I pretty much agree with.
I think it's probably the
And
case.
yeah,
And you can't get fired.
right.
It's
So-
very difficult to get fired anyway.
So my point is, and I think we share this point, is that if everything was a business, instead you had these privatized companies that weren't being government funded.
Give them the
but
profit
they're-
motive.
Right. So then now you and I, we go in, and I believe healthcare and education is a right in a society. If you're in a society, you should have the right. If you're paying taxes and you're contributing to that society, you deserve those 2 things as a right. So, but doesn't mean that the government has to provide them. It means that those can be provided by private citizens who can actually make money in a business. And if they run the business well, people will want to go to those facilities. You're going to want to go to a good hospital. You're going to want to go to a good school.
Give all of those institutions a for-profit motive.
Mm-hmm.
Give them the financial incentive to to be the best, and then legislate around that so that nobody gets left behind.
Right.
So that nobody, and then you don't get a situation like the States. The States, sure, you got the best healthcare in the world, absolutely, 100%, but it's not really all that affordable. And the reason for that is big pharma owns everything, lobbies everything. You can't make a competitor of like any of the necessary medications. So I think like whoever owns the rights to like sell you insulin in the States can sell it way over what it might actually cost to make, and somebody can't come in and compete with that to make it more available to more people.
Well, they also have legislation and regulations that protect them.
Mhm.
So, for example, you have let's say a drug. I'm not going to be specific about anything, but you have a drug that a particular pharma company pushes. It's a great drug and it works really well, but someone else has a drug that's close to or works almost as well or whatever. Now they're going to push that one that's the best sort of drug. It's capitalized by that one company, so they can charge whatever the fuck they want. They have no real competition on it.
Mm-hmm.
So people are stuck doing that. They're stuck taking or going after that drug. And I understand the idea of the business model that you want to be able to do that, but when it comes to health, I think we have to. Those are the kinds of regulations that we should be stringent on to protect people, as opposed to protecting companies, protecting or interests and like special interest groups and that kind of thing. What's he saying now? Already, I see a couple of things here. I'm for private tiered healthcare, and the premiums you would pay should be applicable as a tax credit. I'm going to a private clinic next month. Yeah, so. The level of service blows public system out of the water. Yeah, I agree. It's totally like that, but that's what you get with competition. Competition drives everything. You start a business and you're the only one that does that. Everybody's going to you, but then all of a sudden I go, oh, hey, there's a need for that.
Someone else does it better. So you're like, oh, well, I got to do it better than you.
Yeah, I go to your clinic, let's say, and I go, okay, well, I see they do some things pretty well, but I'm going to start one that does all those things well, and then I'm going to do this better. And then people go, oh, fuck, Alex's clinic is awesome. Let's go to his. And then that just makes things better. But if you're stuck and tied to one corrupt, controlled system, you're just a lemming to it. You just have to go. It's like, okay, what do I pick? This one or that one? It's all the fucking same.
Mm-hmm.
So